Greetings, and welcome to the presentation, Leveraging the Genie, Creating Institutional Guidelines for Student Use of Generative Artificial Intelligence at Stanley Community College. We will begin by taking a look at two men that seem to be separated by history, but not in ideals. One is Ethan Mollick, the author of Co-Intelligence, Living and Working with AI, and one of our famous presidents, Abraham Lincoln. Ethan Mollick says, "It is too late to put the genie back in the bottle." He uses Genie to refer to generative artificial intelligence as the new upcoming technological innovation that is impacting the landscape of both the workforce and education. And Lincoln, at the height of the Civil War, said, "Do I not destroy my enemies when I make them my friends?" While these two men may seem separated, they both are expressing one of the ideals that they share, and that is, although there can be a semblance of fear surrounding a topic, to remove the fear and to see the potential is a way to take the risks and capitalize on them to make them benefits. And before we can capitalize on those benefits, it is important to understand both the benefits and the risks of generative AI use in 2024. So in the landscape of education, first of all, generative AI has the potential to offer educators and students alike numerous benefits, which include personalized learning, improved task efficiency, increased motivation, and increased student engagement. The current risks of generative AI also include information accuracy on information that is actually generated by artificial intelligence. Also, the danger of over-reliance on artificial intelligence. There are also equity and access issues, as well as dealing with the complex issue of academic integrity. Since OpenAI launched ChatGPT in November of 2022, the question that higher education and businesses have been asking themselves is, how does this impact us? Let's take a look at some key statistics for generative AI. As of March 2024, a significant portion of men and women believe that schools should be teaching students how to utilize AI. That means that it will become one of the competencies that is expected in education, not just K-12, but higher education. Next, the market for AI and personalized learning is forecast to grow at a rate of 44.3% to reach almost $50 billion by 2030. That is up $5.2 billion from 2022. Also, statistics show that AI helps 73% of students to understand the learning material better and 63% to study more effectively. Let's take a look at more compelling evidence. Top stats for 2024 for generative artificial intelligence also show that the global generative market is worth almost $45 billion. 92% of the Fortune 500 firms have adopted generative AI, 70% of Gen Zers have tried generative AI tools, and nearly 9/10 of American jobs can and could be impacted by generative AI. Moving on, 95% of customer interactions may involve AI by 2025. 73% of marketing departments use generative AI, and AI could generate up to 97 million jobs by 2025. Now let's take a look at the automation potential with and without generative AI in the U.S. in 2023 by education. If you'll notice that with a master's degree, PhD, or higher, almost 57% of tasks in those areas could involve generative AI. Bachelor's degree up to 60%, an associate's degree 62%, some college 64%. So you see that the automation potential is showing us that the workforce is going to be incorporating generative AI for task efficiency. Automation potential by industry shows that office support leads the way, but take a look at education. Right there at almost 55%. That potential is showing us that in all of these areas, in which Stanley Community College is invested in preparing our students for, we need to be prepared to incorporate generative AI competencies into every aspect of what we do at Stanley Community College. Finally, just looking at the top AI use cases for teachers in 2023 shows that teachers will be using generative AI for research, lesson plan generation, summarizing info, and generating assignments. The bottom line is that students are already using generative AI, and businesses want graduates who can use generative AI. Also, students and faculty are looking to institutional policies for guidance. Without that guidance, equity and access are at risk. And finally, with guidelines, generative AI can become that tool and teammate for students and faculty, mirroring Abraham Lincoln's thoughts. If we don't want generative AI to be our enemy, let's make it our friend. In order to do this, we must create proactive guidelines for student use of generative AI here at Stanley Community College. And we can do this through a three-dimensional approach, dealing with governance, the pedagogical dimension, as well as the operational dimensions at Stanley Community College. The proposal is to create a research-based, scaffolded approach to creating, implementing, and monitoring generative AI policies at Stanley Community College, beginning in the summer of 2024, with the proposal itself ending in fall of 2025, but with the understanding that the implemented procedures will continue on after the fall of 2025. The approach is this. Beginning with the governance level, there must be institutional buy-in for a balanced approach for student use of generative AI. Then, moving into the pedagogical dimension, this is where faculty and student buy-in is accomplished through faculty professional development days, student surveys, collaboration between the Center for Teaching and Learning, the Faculty Senate, and individual departments to develop a tiered approach to student use of generative AI. By spring of 2025, there should be generative AI statements in every course syllabus at Stanley Community College. And finally, dealing with the operational dimension, the Center for Teaching and Learning would develop clear roles and responsibilities for ongoing research and training related to generative AI. Then the Chief Technology Officer would make recommendations for accountability, security, and privacy. Now let's take a look at the specific timeline for this proposal. First, from 7:15 to 8:15, a Center for Teaching and Learning representative would meet with the executive leadership team to establish the importance of setting clear and transparent policies for the student use of generative AI. The CTL team would need to utilize a presentation that covers the perception shift necessary to effectively create these policies at the college and the scaffolded timeline for policy development. This presentation should be submitted and approved by the Chief Academic Officer. Then, from 8:15 to 10:15, once approval is gained, the head of CTL and the Director of Professional Development can tailor the required professional development day to focus on generative AI. The proposed schedule should include a plenary session as well as succeeding sessions that cover AI proofing your assignments and your assessments, cool stuff you can do with generative AI, how the workforce views generative AI and what this means for your courses, as well as stop teaching your course, make AI do it. These sessions are meant to align with our strategic plan, which covers both student success, faculty success, and then finally community success. Then from 10/15/2024 to 12/15/2024, a CTL representative would meet with the Faculty Senate in November and present a draft of this tiered approach to a student use of generative AI that includes a recommended definition of plagiarism with regards to student use of generative AI. The Faculty Senate would have 1 month to provide recommendations or revisions to this draft. A revised version of the tiered generative artificial intelligence approach should be approved by the Chief Technology Officer. At the same time, the Center for Teaching and Learning would create a student survey that will appear as a universal LMS banner in Canvas. The CTL team would need to create the survey, post it as a banner in the LMS, establish a closing date, and analyze the data produced by the survey in collaboration with the Director of Institutional Research. Then, from 1/7/2025 to 4/1/2025, the Center for Teaching and Learning would provide departmental recommendations for discipline-specific approaches to generative AI policies that include tiered options and guidelines for instructors in monitoring and responding to generative AI use in courses. The department chairs would then need to meet with their faculty to determine which approaches to the specific courses are logical and represent best practices. The Center for Teaching and Learning would need to present a final version of the tiered approach to student use of generative AI, recommendations for the guided departmental discussions, and a deadline for submitting a department response or approach to student use of generative AI to the respective deans. The approaches and responses should be approved by the dean and should then be sent and approved to the Chief Academic Officer. CTL would then need to revise the standard syllabus template in Simple Syllabus to include a generative AI section with the approved tiered options. Then, from 8/7/2025 to 8/15/2025, the faculty would then need to select from the options provided in Simple Syllabus when they set up their courses. The department chairs will ensure that each course syllabus contains an approved policy statement for student use of generative AI. And finally, from 8/15/2025 to 10/15/2025, the Chief Academic Officer and the Center for Teaching and Learning team would define clear roles and responsibilities related to generative AI that include ongoing research, concerns, opportunities, and ongoing professional development for faculty, and a CTL representative would provide a monthly report with recommendations to the Chief Academic Officer. The Chief Technology Officer would present a recommended plan to the Chief Academic Officer addressing accountability, security, and privacy related to generative AI use at Stanley Community College. And one of the beauties of this plan is that there are no costs absolutely at all incurred. To do everything that is in this plan would not impact our budget currently. Generative AI is definitely here to stay, and it is our responsibility to lead the way in balancing innovation and integrity concerning student use of generative AI here at Stanley Community College. Thank you very much. References here, as well as here. Thank you very much for your time and your consideration.